Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, Vikings fans. What is going on? It is great to have you with me. I'm coming to you live from the dungeons of my parents' basement. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, or happy whatever it is you celebrate. And if you celebrate nothing, happy you get a vacation day on Monday, or at least holiday pay if you come into the office anyway. How's everybody doing tonight? We're going to keep this to under an hour. Yeah, I say that every time. But I mean it this time. At least that's what we're going to go with. Well, at the end of the night, we're going to have a little bit of a clear picture because we got two of the teams that are vying for those last two playoff spots playing each other tonight. So, hey, one of them theoretically has got to win and one of them theoretically has got to lose, right? So, hey, that's good anyway. Hope everybody has a safe and happy holidays first and foremost. If you are traveling, please stay safe. If you go out and have a little something in your drink, get an Uber. Don't do what Wes Phillips did. And by all means, and above everything else, stay safe. Let's get some shouts to people in the house already. Number one and foremost, right off the bat, we have Grandpa Dave from Vikings First and SKOL. If you do not already subscribe to Vikings First and SKOL, both on YouTube and your favorite podcast aggregator, hit them up with a sub. I get over there on occasion. On occasion, I get over there. Shout out my guy Tbass. What is going on? The Vikings have only played 3 teams that really run all that much. They're susceptible to play action. Well, we'll see. We'll see. I've got a little something on the docket for that, Tbass, so I'll get you. I will get you. Frozen North, what's going on? Good evening to you as well. My guy, Lord Duncan, if we lose out the last 3 games, we could land the top 12 to 15. I hate losing to the Packers, but come on, just take. No. See, Lord Duncan, here's the thing. I am always one that says short-term pain for long-term gain isn't necessarily the worst thing in the world. But the exception to that is we never, ever give up a game against the Packers. Never. Under no circumstances whatsoever. Hold on, yo. Yeah. Knew something was right. Knew my head wasn't on screen. Listen, the time for tanking ended the day we beat San Francisco. But it's one of those deals where if we did lose to the Lions twice, but still beat the Packers, yeah, I wouldn't be like devastated by it. As long as we beat the Packers, you gotta beat them. But yeah, if they went 0-3, they'd actually be closer to a top 10 pick. So, but either way, we're not talking about tanking tonight. Maybe in a week or two, we'll talk about tanking. But I agree, run the ball. It's not B, but it's not me. It's more of my phone doesn't understand. Yeah. Dr. Text is an amazing invention when it actually works. There's that. Shout out, Roger. What's going on? Thanks for joining. I appreciate you. SKOL for Life Barber 1975. SKOL to all winning this game. It's going to be tough, but I think we can do it. I think we can. My nemesis, too evil to hope. What's going on? This iced tea thing. Is it ever going to die? Probably not. What's up, Swerve? How you doing? What's up to you as well? Good to see you. So we're going to keep this a little lighter. And again, I'm a little out of my element. I'm not in the quote-unquote studio, but that's all right. Thank you to my mom and dad for allowing me to confiscate the basement, the doldrums, while I do this here tonight. I said, everybody stay out, please. Everybody stay away, please. Please, just for half an hour, 45 minutes, if at all possible. And yeah, I got all kinds of contraptions going back there, but that's all right. All right, y'all know how we start the show. We got to say some thank yous. I say thank you to you guys and gals in the chat, but Lord Duncan's got me. I don't know about that. Lord Duncan, but that's all right. That is all right. Okay, for real. We know how we start the show. Shout out to the active and veteran members of our armed forces who fought for our freedom and continue to fight for them. And shout out to their family members who have to sacrifice time away from their loved ones so that this can be the greatest nation and that we can be free. Shout out to the brave men and women who serve as our law enforcement, firefighters, and EMS, who in times of tragedy are the ones running towards the danger to help the rest of us get away from it. You potentially put your lives on the line every day when you go to work, so we thank you kindly. Finally, to the doctors, nurses, home health care providers, surgeons, frontline workers, for always being there to take care of us in our time of medical needs. Your Super Bowl is trying to save a life. The men and women that I have mentioned here tonight, as always at the beginning of my show, or at least somewhere close to it, can at times work very thankless jobs. So I'm going to say thank you at the beginning, because that's just what I do. All right. Got a few more comments in there. Hit the reset button. If you didn't already, wipe your feet at the door. Hit that like button. And if you don't already subscribe, hit that subscribe button for me as well and help me grow these numbers up here. 931, ladies and gentlemen. That's 69 away from 1,000. Do with that what you will. Also, reminder, fundraiser for Mini-Me. Y'all know how we do it. I know it's Christmas time, so if you all can't do anything, that's all right. I'm just appreciative that you guys are here. But we still got the matching donations, so you can hit me up on the Cash App, or you can do a super chat here. Everything will get a matching donation from the Rochester Public School System, and I very much appreciate anything y'all can do for me here tonight. And by the way, that's right, Mary's got the prizes. Hopefully Mary shows up later here tonight, but let's get this week's prize up here. And you know what? There's only a handful of entries this week. So what were we talking about? Oh, yes, we're talking about this lovely limited edition drinkware set, as well as this wonderful wood art that you can hang on your wall. Again, not very many entries, ladies and gentlemen. $5 increments to get an entry. We'll spin the wheel this weekend. Let's see what we got going on. Let me get a couple more shouts because I know one or two new people here. Hold on, what's going on? Too evil. You ain't funny, Too Evil. You are not funny. Knock it off. Knock it off. All right. So I promised we wouldn't keep it under an hour, and I'm already 7 minutes into it. So let's kick back, relax, and get this started here. With what? The good old NFC North Roundup. Well, we play the Lions, so that's two of the teams right there that we don't even need to talk about right now because, well, we're going to talk about them all throughout the show. The Green Bay Packers get their second bye week. They play the Carolina Panthers. If they don't beat the Panthers, sound check. Help me out, yo. Make sure my sound is still good. If they don't beat the Panthers, they're done. They might be done anyway after we beat them next week, but we'll talk more about that later. I know Carolina won last week, and I know the Packers lost in spectacularly delicious fashion to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but they should really have no problem with that. We would love to be wrong, but I think Green Bay's got another bye week here, but that's just me. As far as the Chicago Bears, do we really care? Do we really care about the Chicago Bears? They're not eliminated yet, but they get the Arizona Cardinals. They're actually favored by 4 points. When's the last time Chicago was favored against anybody? I don't know. They'll beat them. So whoever wins the game between Detroit and the Vikings, whoever loses probably be the only team that loses this week in the division, but we'll see. It's setting up nicely for next week against the Packers, though. It's going to be an elimination game for them. It's going to be an elimination game. I cannot wait. Nothing beats ringing in the new year than beating the Green Bay Packers. Let me get a couple shouts. What's going on? Whoops, it moved again. Two-Tone Tony, what's going on? Good to see you. Thank you kindly. As well as we got a house call from the doctor, so good evening to you as well. Thank you, Roger, for letting me know. I heard a pop in here. So, again, a little out of my element. Not sure how that Wi-Fi is here. So, we should be all right, though. We should be all right. All right, on to some real fun stuff here. No, that's the wrong one. This thing didn't do what I was supposed to do. One game focus. Both Kevin O'Connell and Nick Mullins were asked, hey, what do you think about playing Detroit 2 out of 3 weeks? Are you going to hold some plays back? What are you guys going to do with the fact that you're going to play him a couple times? We'll just get that both from Kevin O'Connell as well as what Nick Mullins thinks about the rest of the season, the last 3 games that we got going on here. Here's what they had to say.
Some of the things we've had to overcome. This is all about whatever it takes to win this football game. This is a really good team coming into our house, NFC North opponent. This is about the 4-quarter opportunity we have this Sunday, and then we worry about next week.
It's all about beating the Lions. Playoffs are awesome, but if you don't win, then the playoffs don't matter. You got to beat the Lions. I think the guys are excited about that. Obviously, we got the whiteout at home, so there's a lot to be excited about. We have a great defense. We know we can do it. Now it's just putting it all together against an awesome home crowd in the whiteout game.
Indeed. Let's take care of one thing at a time. Hopefully Santa Claus will bring a lump of coal to the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions have never won the NFC North. The last time they won a division, it was the NFC Central, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were still in our division. How that ever worked out was beyond me. You got one team down south calling it the Central Division, but I digress. Here's the thing. As fans, we can look forward. We can talk about, as Lord Duncan said earlier, we can talk about, well, would it be better to do this or better to have that result? Let's be forward thinking, short-term pains for long-term games. And we, as fans, can do that. Even people in the media can do that. Players, coaches, they can't. So, yes, they're going to say they're obligatory. Hey, we're just taking it one game at a time. Coach speak this. And hey, we're just focused on the team ahead of us. Players speak that. But it is human nature to look past just the game that you're on. They always say stuff called a trap game, where you're playing what looks to be an easy team a week before you got your big rivals, or you're going up against one of the bigger teams in the NFL, where, hey, this is a trap game. There's no such thing as trap games in December. Okay, number one. But more importantly than that, no, it doesn't matter that the scheduling gods made it to where we have the opportunity to face the Detroit Lions late in the season and 2 out of the 3 weeks. And by the way, it could fall into where we're playing them 3 out of 4 weeks, because right now the Vikings and the Lions stay where they're at, they're slated for a wild card round weekend matchup. So no, but you don't hold back. You play to win the game, as Herm Edwards would say. You don't play it to just play it. You can't think about the week 18 matchup. You can't think about the potential wild card round matchup. All you can think about is getting this W this Sunday. Because guess what? The Detroit Lions magic number is 1. Any combination of Detroit wins or Vikings losses, regardless if they're playing each other or not, gives the division title to the Detroit Lions. So in order for us to win the division, we have to beat them twice. We have to beat the Packers, and they have to lose to the Dallas Cowboys. Now, is all that possible? Sure. We'll talk a little bit more about those details in the playoff section later on. But for right now, yes, focus on what is in front of you. And no, you don't hold back a couple of your best plays. If you lose this game, then what do those good plays sitting in your back pocket do you? It's like saying, well, I was holding on to some timeouts for when we got the ball back. Yeah, but if the clock runs out on you, what good are those timeouts? You can't take them with you. I mean, you can take them with you. They don't do you any good. So, no, we're not talking about, hey, are we going to hold plays back, or are we going to play this differently because we're going to be playing them in a couple weeks after that? No, sorry. It's just not going to happen. And if you do, then I got some serious questions about your competency. You play to win the game. And guess what? As coaches and as players, you're paid to come up with a different game plan from time to time. It's not like you don't have film on each other for all the other games played. So a lot of what you do is already on film. You got to come up with new stuff. So the fact that you're going to face the same team, yeah, you'd be silly to think that they're just going to run the same plays, and they're going to be silly to think you're going to run the same plays. So at the end of it, for me, just be you. Just be you. All right, back to the chats. Reset button. Hit that like button if you didn't on your way in. Please, let's get this pushed out there a little bit if y'all could. That would be much, much appreciated. And if you don't already, hit the subscribe button and help me grow the numbers up here just a little bit. All right, Tbass, what you got for me? Best Christmas present ever. The Sears catalog Viking uniform complete with a helmet and shoulder pads. I let kids up back in the day with it. Okay. Even cracked the cheap helmet. Had to get a new one. All right. I'll say this. One of the best Christmas presents ever would be to be keeping the Detroit Lions from winning this division. But we'll see. We'll see. Shout out Clifford. What's going on? Good to see you. I have a lunch bucket from the expansion season. Oh, wow. When the Bucks and the Seahawks join the NFL, it has the Bucks in the AFC and the Seahawks in the NFC. That's right. I forgot about that. I did forget about that. Cause and effect. Shout out. I'm in the building. We're playing with house money. Pressure's on the lines. There's something to be said for that. There is something to be said. And Dave from First and SKOL has said this, and we've all said some derivation of it, that when Kirk Cousins went down and you're a 500 club, your expectations levels invariably have to change. You can't go into it with the same expectations that you had in the offseason thinking Kirk's never going to get hurt and it's the second year in the system. Yeah, it is house money, but that doesn't mean we're not greedy. But shout out everybody. Shout out Cause and Effect. Good to see you. Good to see you. I appreciate you. Happy holidays. Happy holidays to you too, Tony. Merry Christmas to you as well. You know, to a certain extent, Doctor, the season has flown by a little bit. And I think part of it is because of the roller coaster of events that has happened to this Vikings team, where we start out 0-3, then 1-4. And we're thinking, all right, if we lose one more game, either to Chicago or San Francisco, and end up 2-5 a week before the trade deadline, yeah, you play the Packers and then sell off your pieces. That seems like 6 months ago. And it seems like 5.5 months ago that we lost Kirk Cousins. And then we lose Justin Jefferson. Well, that happened before, but you get my point. And then we go on a winning streak. Like, seriously. We go on a couple game winning streak thinking, oh, Josh Dobbs. Remember him? Remember we all saying, hey, can Josh Dobbs be our starter moving forward? And then that ship sunk, and now we've got Nick Mullen. So you're right. This season has had so many twists and turns. It does feel like it has gone by pretty fast, but we'll see. We'll see. Yeah, I agree. Best Christmas present would be visiting Vikings Point. A Giants in the playoffs and the Wolves making the Western Conference final. Well, that would be something. That would be something. It would be something for the Timberwolves to actually just win a playoff series, something they haven't done in almost 2 decades. But yes, that would be outstanding. Tbass says, expectations doesn't change for San Francisco when somebody gets hurt. That's where I want the Vikings to be. Line of the night so far. Line of the night. That would be a delicious dream. And, oh, by the way, their history. How many Super Bowls they got? 5, 6? Can we just get one? You're right. But I get your overall point. Yes, they lose somebody for a week or two or even lose somebody for the season, and they just got somebody else to plug and play. So someday, Tbass, someday we'll be there. All right, topic number 2. We need to get this offense on track. Last week, Nick Mullins got his first start, ultimately had pretty good stats, over 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, but had 2 costly interceptions. But the Vikings offense looked competent. It didn't look as good as it did with Kirk Cousins, and that is to be expected when you have a backup quarterback playing, much less one that has now a 5-13 record, and going into the game had 27, so is now at 29 touchdowns to 25 interceptions. Of course, it's going to have its ups and downs, but I will say this offense looked really, really good when they featured Ty Chandler. Now, Kevin O'Connell on Sunday and Monday is like, well, we're going to try to get Alexander. Hopefully he can come back in and we can get a good mix. And later on in the week, when it's apparent that Alexander Madison probably is not going to play, oh, yeah, we're behind Ty Chandler, and he's going to get the bulk of the carries, and we're looking to feature him. The one thing I will say about Kevin O'Connell right now, and I'm not going to get into the nonsense about, should he be fired or give up his play calling. That's another conversation for another day. But for right now, anyway, why does it take Alexander Madison being injured in order for you to figure out to use Ty Chandler as your main running back? That I will never know. Maybe someday when he writes his memoir, he'll be able to explain to us what the infatuation with Alexander Madison is. And again, Alexander Madison, when he's healthy, has a role on this team. Absolutely he does, as a backup. We hoped and thought he could take over for Dalvin Cook, and he couldn't. And that's okay. Sometimes you get moved into a role thinking you could take on an expanded role, and that can be in anything: football, basketball, heck, corporate America. Hey, we're going to promote this person to a different position, and it just doesn't work. But at some point you say to yourself, you know what? We're going to have to take away some of those responsibilities from this person because they can't handle it. Okay, no shame in that to an extent. So feature Ty Chandler. Go back and look at the drives where Ty Chandler was getting the ball a lot. The Vikings were moving up and down the field. And it allowed the Vikings to set up the play action. It allowed Nick Mullins to get into rhythm. This offensive line, again, they're okay run blocking, okay at best, pretty good pass blockers. They were pretty good run blockers. Ty Chandler, 132 yards and a touch. So get Ty Chandler involved early and often and keep that Lions offense on the bench. We'll talk about them when we talk about the defense here in just a moment. But your biggest key on offense, obviously football 101. Don't turn the ball over, and don't turn the ball over at alarming rates like we have thus far this season, no matter who the quarterback has been. Whether it's been dumb luck with passes going off wide receivers' hands like KJ and TJ, and Justin Jefferson dropping the ball as he's reaching across the end zone. Last week, Nick Mullins with a terrible interception trying to force the ball to JJ on 3rd down. Just take the points, man. But so number 1, don't turn the ball over. Number 2, don't go away from your running game. I know we got a lot of weapons on offense, particularly in the receiving game. We're talking about Jefferson, Addison, and Hawkinson. And you want to get those guys the ball. And again, 20 catches between the 3 of them last week, 7, 7, and 6. Jordan Addison, one of his best games of his career, his young career. Yeah, I understand we want to get the ball in our playmakers' hands. But at some point, too, Ty Chandler is one of your playmakers. So don't be afraid to stick with the run. You need time-consuming drives. You need drives that end in touchdowns. The Vikings, once again, are just mediocre at best in red zone touchdown efficiency. I think they're bottom 3rd. You can't have drives end in field goals against a team that can score a lot of points. And right now, the Detroit Lions, when they're on, they score a lot of points. Offense, you're going to have to hold up your end of the bargain. Yes, last week, potentially you would have had 30 on the board if not for those interceptions, and that's all well and good, but you're not going to be able to get away with that. You got away with it barely against the Vegas Raiders, and I know that was a different quarterback, but offensively, you got to put up at least 28 to 31 points. You cannot expect your defense to hold these guys under 20. It's not going to happen. And if it does, we'll all be wonderfully surprised. It'll be the greatest Christmas present in the year 2023. Okay, just kidding there. But in all seriousness, no, offense. You can't rely on this defense to do everything. It's not going to work. When you get to the playoffs, it's not going to work. It's not going to work against Philly. It's not going to work against San Francisco. And it ain't going to work against Detroit. Offense, we came into this season saying, hey, we had a top 8 offense, and now we got the second year with the same system for the first time in Kirk Cousins' career, and we just need the defense to be average. Well, right now, this team is completely flipped upside his head. Right now, the defense is top 10, and the offense we're just hoping can be average. Nick Mullins, as I said last week, just stay within yourself. Don't try to do too much. As much fun as that Jordan Addison 1-yard touchdown pass where you had the ball for about 7 seconds, and the announcers say, what in the world was Nick Mullins doing? What were you doing? You're not going to get away with that very often. You got lucky. Both of your touchdown passes were lucky. On the first one, you're getting tackled. You're throwing it off your back foot as you're falling down on your backside, and he made a shoestring catch, and there was nobody around him, got into the end zone. Okay, we're not going to be able to get away with that repeatedly over and over. So offense, you got to stay on track. You can't get behind the sticks. You can't have 3 and outs either. 3 and outs are almost as bad as turnovers in this league right now. With how everything is shaded towards the offense and how you have to play defense with one hand behind your back, you get a 3 and out outside of the field position is no different than a turnover because you're putting your defense back out on the field. And against this offense from the Detroit Lions, they're going to be in for a long day. Now, they're going to have to carry their water too, but offensively, you've got to flip the script and say, hey, we're an offensive team this week. We're not going to leave our defense hanging out to dry. All right, back to the comments. Hit that like button if you didn't on your way in. I got a whole bunch of comments here, so let's see what you guys got going on for me. And I appreciate you guys and gals so very, very much. The Niners are a better rock. Oh, yeah, of course they are. Yep. Butt fumble was the butt interception was worse. I don't know. I honestly don't know. One was a comedy of errors where it's just like, how do you like do that? But then again, the other one is just like you're on your way down and you're trying to throw the ball away to avoid what? An intentional grounding? Okay, you would have lost the yardage anyway. I mean, butt fumble, you can kind of say like he didn't know and he didn't realize it. Butt interception, he knew what was going on. He knew what was going on. So to me, I say interception is worse. I think butt fumble is funnier. Interception is more mind-boggling and frustrating, but that's where I would go. Lord says Chandler is a running back 1 is finally smart. Dude's twice as fast. Yes. I will say, I don't know what, as I said earlier, I don't know what it takes and why it takes KOC to literally be being dragged, kicking and screaming to make a change. But hey, it's here. Wish Alexander Madison nothing but the best. And again, I think he has a good role as a backup. And when he's healthy, yeah, I want him in there on third down on occasion. I want him to get 8 to 12 touches a game, but it should not be anywhere close to a 50-50 thing. I guarantee you that. Watching a lot of NFL this year, there's not a lot of good teams. Yes, I agree. Yeah, it is. I'll say this, Tbass. That's a very, very good point. They want this. They want parity. This is the ultimate parity. But is it really parity if it's mediocrity? I don't know. But you're right. Again, going into the game last week, there was 14 teams that were either 7-7 or 6-8. 14 out of 32 teams. It's ridiculous. But you're right. There's not a whole lot. You got Baltimore in the AFC, and I actually think that right now, if I was in the AFC, the one team I wouldn't want to face is Buffalo. And I know they're only 8-6, and they're still. Is there an outside chance Buffalo can get the division still, or does Miami already have that locked up? I'll look at it here in just a second. But to me, right now, no, Buffalo is not. Miami is not locked it up. They're 2 games up with 3 to go, so Buffalo can still catch them for the division. But Buffalo right now, to me, is the team I don't want to see if I'm in the AFC. But as far as the NFC goes, you got the 49ers, and then you sort of got the Eagles and Cowboys, but they're definitely a step below San Francisco, if you ask me. And the Eagles just kind of look mortal right now. The Cowboys just got mollywhopped by the aforementioned Buffalo Bills last week. So, yeah, San Francisco hands down the best team in the NFL right now. Baltimore second. And after that, you got a pretty big drop. So anything can happen. Anything can happen. Cliff says Zimmer syndrome starters are starters because I've been, well, you might have a point there. You might have a point. Shout out SKOL Mafia. What's going on, SKOL brother? What's going on? Bangor, Maine. There you go. There you go. Oh, Lord says chicken wings and okay, we're happy for you. No, I'm just playing with you. Cause and effect. What's the key to beating the line specifically? Slowing Goff. I'm going to get that in the defensive side. Cause and effect. I'm going to get that on the defensive side. So, shout out Jeffrey. What's going on? Yes, control the game of the running game. Defense needs to get Goff. Yes. I'm going to finish reading these comments and then I'll talk about the defense and then we'll circle back to this. Too evil. You ain't funny, dude. You are not funny. You are not funny. I'm going to start these comments here. I'm going to get back to you guys and what you had up there just a moment ago. But thank you, Jeffrey, and cause and effect. All right. Sound popping again. I think I'm getting a little more Wi-Fi. Maybe my daughter's already turned off her phone. Who the heck knows? All right, Clifford, what you got? And then we'll get it. Yes, they are absolutely a far worse team on the road. And right now, they hold the division lead. Now, I believe if both Dallas and Philly win out their last 3 games, that Philly, due to tiebreaker reasons, will overtake them again. At least that's what the case was last week. But yeah, right now, Dallas absolutely needs to hang on to home field advantage because they're a completely different show on the road. Oh, doggone it. Sorry, Mafia. I hope wherever it takes you, you're having a good time, though. All right, next topic here. Let's get this going. Defense in command. For a few weeks, this defense looked off the charts. Some would even have called it a championship level defense. Well, last week in the fourth quarter happened. So we're going to need to knock them down a peg there. Defensively in this game, you've got to be on your P's and Q's. Last week, I said the defensive backs are going to need to be on their A game because they were going to be in a lot of one-on-one situations. And for the vast majority of the game, the first 3 quarters, they did a pretty good job. And then the fourth quarter happened and some switch got flipped. And all of a sudden, those guys were playing jump balls. Let's play 500 in the backyard. I really hope they took my advice and played 500 in the backyard during the week of practice this week so they can figure out how to either get those jump balls and come down with some interceptions or at the very least knock the ball down, or heaven forbid, if you're on the sidelines or in the back of the end zone, knock the guy out of bounds. And guess what? You went from Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Tyler Boyd into another buzzsaw of skill players. Amon-Ra St. Brown. I mean, to me, he is actually a top 5 wide receiver. I know you're going to talk about Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill, and Jamar Chase. After that, name me a wide receiver that you'd rather have besides Amon-Ra St. Brown, because he is absolutely ridiculous. And we're going to need Byron Murphy. We're going to need Harrison Smith. We need all of those guys to take care of Amon-Ra St. Brown, as well as the rest of the receiving core. Sam Laporta, he's one of the best tight ends right now. He's got it going on right now. You got Reynolds and Raymond, all of these guys. So bottom line is this, to some of the commenters' points earlier, you got to get pressure on Jared Goff. To use the old common man line, you got to hope that Goff is off, because he's every bit as good, in my opinion, when protected, as Kirk Cousins. I know some of the Kirk stands will say that's slander. It's slander to say that a quarterback who got his team to the Super Bowl, regardless of the fact that he lost, is better than Kirk Cousins. But anyway, Jared Goff, when he's got time, he can dice you apart. And this Lions offensive line, when they very well might be the best overall offensive line in football. I saw a stat earlier that when all 5 of their starters are in, they're 5-0, and they have an average of about 37.8 points a game. All 5 of their starters are going to be playing on Sunday. So, Danielle Hunter and whoever else you got with you on the offensive line, pack a lunch. But my point to start off the bat is stop their running game. The Vikings have been pretty decent against the run, but Harrison Phillips is on the injury report, Sheldon Day on the injury report. If we don't have our depth on the defensive line, it could be a very, very long game. That is why offensively, you've got to go on time-consuming drives. You got to keep the Detroit Lions offense off the field. But while the Vikings are playing defense, Brian Flores, you show 8-man fronts almost every play. You lead the league in bringing pressure, and you also lead the league in dropping guys out. Pick a lane this week. Either bring the pressure all the time or drop all the time. Mix it up here and there, of course. But to me, I would do more blitzing this week. And yeah, there will be times where Jared Goff, if he is protected long enough, will beat you. But better to have him beat the blitz than death by 1,000 cuts. Yeah, I said it. In all seriousness, stop the run. Because if you can get Jared Goff to become one-dimensional, then you've got a shot of getting to him. But if he's able to hand the ball off and get both the running game and the passing game going, Good luck, ladies and gentlemen. David Montgomery and Jamar Gibbs, these guys, they're good. Montgomery at 855 yards, Gibbs at 792. They may have 2,000-yard rushers. They're running out of time. It's going to be close, but they may have two 1,000-yard rushers. So you have got to find a way to stop their run game first. If Jared Goff beats you early on in the game, okay, you take that. Stop the run, because if they get that run game going and it gets to be the later part of the third quarter and all of the fourth quarter and they're just running the ball down our throats, forget it. Defensively, particularly the defensive backs, you've got to do a better job than what you did in the fourth quarter last week. Last week you did good for the first three quarters and then something happened. I don't know. Hopefully you looked at the tape, figured out what you did. And Brian Flores, one thing I will say, as many flowers as we've tossed at you for how you've turned this defense around in spades over Ed Donashell. Yeah, we got an interception last week, but that was just a terrible pass. We got to get a few more turnovers here. Remember earlier on in the season where the only time we won is when we got defensive scores against Chicago and Carolina? We could use a defensive score in this game. We could use 2 or 3 turnovers in this game. Get the ball back to the offense and let them do what I just suggested earlier today. But for right now, defensively, the defensive backs are going to have to be on islands again. You can't afford to zone these guys. They pick zones apart because their offensive line can hold up against pert near anybody. If it ends up being that Detroit faces San Francisco in the playoffs, that's going to be an incredible matchup with their offensive line against that defensive line from the Niners. But for right now, anyway, you're going to have to bring pressure. You're going to have to run blitz. You can't just sit back and let this guy tear you apart. You just can't do it. So for right now, defensively, be on your P's and Q's, and hopefully Harrison Phillips, we need Harrison Phillips against this run. If we don't have him, I don't know how they're going to figure it out. Tyrus hasn't done anything. Sheldon Day, again, he's on the injury report too. I like the guy. Maybe we'll see a little bit of Jaquelin Roy, but we've got to stop their run game first and foremost. That's what I think. All right, back to the comments here. Hit that reset button. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button if this is your first time here. Appreciate you guys. Shout out to Luminous Grin. What's going on, Luminous? Good to see you. Good to see you as always. All right, what you got? We're like the only team in the NFC not to get blown. That's true. And that's something my compatriot Dave from Minnesota Sports Talk likes to point out a lot. Hey, we haven't gotten blown out by anybody. Okay, that's all well and good. It's kind of participation trophy to me. Close but no cigar. Close only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades. But yes, that does mean that they are capable of beating anybody. And that means they're capable of losing to anybody too. But for right now, that's a good thing, but that will only get you so far. Hence why their record at this time is 7-7, because they're pretty near at the top of the league in turnovers. So yes, they haven't gotten blown out, and they've given away games that they should have won because of these turnovers. But like I said, it's always a good thing to never having a game where you're just completely out of it. But at some point too, as I said, that is only going to get you so far. It's only going to get you so far. But you're right. That's a very good point. What did happen to Tyrus? Yeah, the Kevin's William bit. That conversation was a little ridiculous. I said that when I heard somebody. I'm like, no, do not try to say that Tyrus Tonga is anywhere close to Kevin Williams. That was ridiculous. To be fair, it wasn't Evan's man, so that the fact that. Yeah, to a certain extent, Swerve. To a certain extent, yes. I'm still a little irritated with Mekhi Blackman just putting his hands up before the play's over on that game-tying touchdown to T. Higgins, where he caught the ball and then reached around. It's just like, you know what? If you were continuing to run there, you might have been able to knock him out of bounds. You might have been able to knock the ball out. Or if he did catch it and he swung it around, maybe you knock it out of his hands at the 1-inch line, kind of like when Justin Jefferson lost it and we recover the fumble or goes out the back of the end zone. So, yeah, Mekhi Blackman, not your best look. Not your best look there. No, Devontae's there. I agree. But I'm just talking about right here, right now with their production. So where Flores owns golf. Yes, there's something to be said there too. But I think this is the best offensive. This is a better offensive line than what he had with the Rams when he took them to the Super Bowl. So that's the thing about golf. Again, he's just like he and Kirk Cousins, Spider-Man meme. They're the Spider-Man meme. Kirk probably a touch more talented, Goff a touch more clutch, gotten farther in the playoffs than Kirk has. But they're pretty similar. Again, put Kirk Cousins behind that Detroit offensive line and he'd throw for 5,000 yards. whether he had the Vikings wide receivers or the Detroit wide receivers behind that offensive. Again, I think they're the best offensive line in football. All right, Jeffrey, what do you got? Culpepper beat the Packers in the playoffs 8-8 in Lambeau Field. It's a new season. The Vikings get in the playoffs. I really think these division games. Oh, yes, Jeff. Any division game, doesn't matter what team you are. Anything can happen in divisional games. That's true. But that Vikings team that did go on the road against the Packers, you pretty much knew that their cap was the divisional round of the playoffs. But as you said, anything can happen. You know what? A few years ago, I think it was 2016, the year that Atlanta went to the Super Bowl and lost to the Patriots after being up 28-3. The Green Bay Packers were their opponent in the NFC Championship game. Now, the Falcons just absolutely destroyed them. But the Packers found a way to go on the road in Dallas and beat Dak Prescott and company on a last-second field goal on a clutch drive by Rodgers. So, yes, anything can happen. Everybody's 0-0 in the playoffs. Everybody's 0-0. 2-0? Okay, fair enough. Thank you. We can hold the run game. Goff will be – yes. I totally agree, Swerve. I totally agree. And that's why I say, you know what? Even if Goff ends up getting some yards early on in the game, I'm not all that bothered by it because you've got to stop that. Thank you, Cause, for bringing that up. Thank you for bringing that up. I had it in my notes and then I forgot about it. Jordan Hicks says that he's ready to go. I don't buy that. I think that's a bit ambitious. I would love to see Jordan Hicks out there. If he's 100% healthy and can go, we'll take him. Ivan Pace Jr. has done a solid job in his stead, but yeah, Jordan Hicks was the heart and soul of this defense. I have said since his injury that his first available game would have been this weekend against Detroit. That's the first time he was eligible to come off of the injury list. And I said our reasonable expectation would be that the first game he plays in is against the Packers. So if he's as close to being ready to go as he's saying he is, then he's definitely going to play next weekend. If he gets in there this week, I'd be pleasantly surprised. And maybe it's because of what they did with Justin Jefferson that, they held him until he was absolutely 100 and 100 and 100%. So I don't know. We'll see. But he's definitely, if he can pass muster, he is eligible and available to come off that list and play Sunday. Shout out Eric from New Mexico. What's going on, Eric? Say hello to Farinder and Raquel for us. Appreciate you stopping by here. Jeff says, do you feel like this game is going to come down to who has the best offensive running game? Yes, I think so. I think both receiving cores, receiver/tight ends, I think they're pretty comparable. Just like last week I said, Jefferson, Addison, and Hawkinson versus Hayes, Boyd, and T. Higgins, were pretty much a wash. So, yes, I think it's going to come down to which offense can win time of possession. And I know that's another football 101 thing, but it applies here because both teams are built, supposedly, if they had their starting quarterbacks, we don't now, but they're both offensive teams and they're just hoping that their defense can survive. Well, again, the Vikings have flipped the script on that. So yes, part of how you help your defense is to keep the other team's offense off the field. So if you can get Ty Chandler to get 120 some yards and then allow the play actions to come off of that. But again, to me, the biggest thing, we'll always take explosive plays. We'll always take 50-yard touchdowns to JJ or Addison or whoever. But to me, the biggest key is ball control and time of possession and keeping them off the field. Tbass says 31-17, Tbass? Not a 31-28, a 31. He says we're going to lose by 2 touchdowns. Oh, boy. Eric says 24-23. I like that one better, obviously. Jeffrey, 38-13? That would be impressive. That would be a statement game, to say the least. That would be a statement game. He says, I hope you're right. I'm wrong. Shout out Eli. What's up, Eli? I haven't seen you in a minute. How you doing? It's good to see you. Good to see you. Everybody shout out Eli. It's been a long time. So everybody say hello to him. Thanks so much for coming by tonight. Too evil, Mullen sucks. It's what comes to plus. Well, yes, there's something to be said there. Lions are going to be leaving with their tail between theirs. I certainly hope so, Jeffrey. That'd be a great start to Christmas Eve. That'd be a great start. Get the Vikings game out the way. Hopefully you don't drink too much, then get your church on or whatever it is you do with your family dinners, and maybe, I don't know. All right, put it in the chat, ladies and gentlemen. Who here opens at least one present on Christmas Eve? And who saves them all for Christmas Day? Or who opens them all on Christmas Eve? I think you got to open them Christmas Day. And, if the kids are really, really good and they eat all of their food and they don't waste anything, maybe they get one the night before. I'm a open them up Christmas morning kind of guy myself, but I digress. Jeffrey clearly doesn't watch the maybe not, but we'll see. All right, last one for tonight. Hit those like buttons for me, you guys. And you know what it is. Playoffs. Yes, the playoffs yet again. As we know, we got a game going on right now. The Rams are up 17-7 over the New Orleans Saints. We got 4 teams in the NFC with 7-7 records. The Minnesota Vikings are one of them, and they hold all the cards as far as tiebreakers go. So again, if they win out, even if Detroit wins next week against the Cowboys, the Vikings are absolutely in the playoffs. There is absolutely no discussion on that. So you win all 3 games, you're in, point blank. The Green Bay Packers, we talked about them. I think they're going to get a win, and I'd be really, really surprised if they lost this weekend. But let's just say it like this. You got these other teams in the conference, and we have tiebreakers over a lot of them. We got tiebreakers over the Saints. As of right now, we have the tiebreaker over the Rams based on conference games because the Vikings are 6-3 and the Rams are 5-4. But if the Rams hold on and win, and then hypothetically, if we lose, we're going to be tied with them there. And I don't know what the next tiebreaker is. But at that point, they'll actually be a game up on us, so it won't even matter. Bottom line, between the Vikings, the Rams, the Seahawks, and the Saints, and maybe the Falcons and the Packers, I'm not counting the Bears or the Giants. They're done. They're done. It's going to come down to the nitty-gritty, and that's why you got to take care of business. Now, here's the thing. As of tonight, one of the teams that are playing, the Rams or the Saints, is going to lose this game, as we talked about, obviously, unless they tie. But honestly, right now, the more I think about it, we should be pulling for the Saints. And I know for some fans, that's like pulling for the Packers, but it's about what's right here, right now, not what happened a decade and a half ago. And why do we want the Saints to be higher than the Rams? Because we beat them. We have the tiebreaker over them head-to-head if it comes down to that. Now, I'd like to point out something that somebody said in one of the comments earlier this week. Head-to-head only matters when it's a 2-team tie. When it's a 3-team tie, there are different rules. So let's say the Vikings and the Saints have the same record, but they are tied with a different team. That head-to-head win over the Saints doesn't mean anything. There's different first tiebreakers when it's 2 teams. So they eliminate one team by a different set of tiebreakers. Now, if we are still tied with the Saints at that point, after the first tiebreaker, yes, then the head-to-head comes back into play. But yes, right now, we are pulling for the Saints to come back and beat the Rams because we got the tiebreaker over them if it comes down to that. I've said it before. I'll say it again. Seattle, I'm not all that concerned about them. They have a pretty decent, pretty difficult schedule at the end. Excuse me. Wrong team. Seattle's the one I do worry about because they have the Cardinals the last game of the year, and they're not going to care. Second to last week, they've got Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is so mediocre, particularly on offense. They've started like 3 different quarterbacks. So their toughest opponent at this point is the Tennessee Titans coming up this Sunday. So hopefully the Titans can get a win there. But right now, I don't even want to think about all these other teams. I really don't. Now, the Rams, even if they do win tonight, they got the 49ers. Now, the 49ers may have the whole thing wrapped up, but yeah, they got the Giants next week, so that's a W there too. So that's the other reason why we want the Saints win here tonight. But for right now, like I said, you still have an outside shot at the division, but you have no margin for error. And it's not like if you lose one game that you're completely out of it. I will say this, pretty much, as we said earlier, next Sunday night, New Year's Eve. And by the way, if you didn't hear, the Vikings and the Packers did not get flexed out of next Sunday night. So it will be Sunday Night Football on New Year's Eve. And if you're going to that game, be safe, pretty please. Watch out for those Packer fans, but that could very easily be an elimination game. Somebody said to me, hey, wouldn't it be better if the Vikings lost to the Lions this Sunday to let the Lions clinch the division? And if they lose to Dallas, then they will have nothing to play for in week 18. Therefore, we'd have a better chance of beating them in week 18. So as long as we beat the Packers, we'll be in the playoffs. I said, yeah, I can see the theory, but that's kind of a loser's lament. That's a loser's mentality. You beat the Lions and the Packers. And that way, if the Lions do lose to the Cowboys, you got a winner take all game. And at that point, you will have probably already clinched a wild card spot anyway. So no, I'm not interested in listening to, hey, let's lose this week so that we have an easier game in week 18. You want to go to the playoffs? You ain't looking for easy games. There's no easy games in the playoffs. There's no easy games at this point in the season. So yeah, like I said, we're hoping the Saints come back. We're hoping the Titans can beat the Seahawks. And at the end of the day, we just got to take care of our own business. We don't need to be scoreboard watching. We just need to take care of the Lions and then take care of the Packers, and then we have a winner take all for the division. And at that point, if you are 2-0 going into that final game, even if you lose and lose out on the division, you're still probably going to be in the playoffs anyway. So, no, I'm not about to just give up this game this weekend against the Lions. I shook my head when I saw that one. All right. We'll get the last bit of comments, and then we're going to get out of here because I might have actually kept it under an hour, ladies and gentlemen. I might have actually kept it under an hour. Lord says, I've already opened 2 print. Lord, you spoiled if that's the case. You're spoiled, man. I haven't opened up anything, to say the least. Frozen, I think Hicks basically ended up with a long, deep surgery that would heal sutures or split open. Think he's going to be getting conditioned for what? I'd be shocked if he plays. I'd be pleasantly surprised because we could use him because we need all the help we can get. But no, I don't think he plays. I do not think he plays. Purple faith, purple love, purple pride. There you go. There you go. Mullins isn't well. Midnight mass on Christmas Eve, then open Christmas in the morning, Christmas Day. There you go, Tbass. There you go. But you're old school like me. You're old school like me. Don't forget the Seahawks. They survived the tough part of this game. Yeah. I had the teams backwards, but yeah, Seattle could have something for us. Seattle could definitely have something for us. So we really need the Titans to beat them this weekend. Otherwise, they could cakewalk and they could easily have 10 wins and take one of those spots regardless of what anybody else does. Yes, if they lose one, they don't have control over their destiny. That is true. No, I'm not. I'm just trying. Too evil. I'm just trying. Best case is that the Rams and Saints tied in. Well, yeah, I suppose. Again, ties don't happen very often, but you're right. You're right. I appreciate you, Eric. I appreciate you. Frozen says, why on earth would be better to lose game? Yeah, I know. I couldn't believe that comment. And I said, I'm going to put that one on air on my show on Thursday. I couldn't believe what I saw that, but I'm just like, really? Because again, it's such a loser's lament. It's like, no, you go out there and you try to beat somebody. If the Vikings win the turnover battle and run the football, it could be a blowout. Well, I'll say this. If they win the turnover battle and run the football, I think it can be a comfortable win. I don't think they can blow this Detroit Lions team out. And again, the reason I say that is because their offensive line is on point and they're all healthy right now. And as I said, I think they're the best offensive line in football. So that's just me. All righty, ladies and gentlemen, here's the programming notes. Number 1, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button if you haven't already. And if you don't already subscribe to the Vikings First and SKOL podcast feed on your favorite podcast aggregator, whether that be YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, or wherever else you get your podcasts. And by the way, head on over to the Vikings First and SKOL YouTube page. Dave typically does a podcast only around the NFC North, but he actually did on YouTube today. They actually broadcasted it, and it was outstanding. So go check that out if you didn't see it earlier today. I know typically Vikings First and SKOL doesn't go live at 4:00 Central, but if you missed that episode, go check it out or check it out on the podcast tomorrow. I also do some appearances on their podcast feed as well. Saturday, 2 old bloggers, 4 p.m. Central Time over on Vikings First and SKOL. I'll be honest with you guys right now. I don't know if I'm going to do the Purple and Gold pregame show, but if I do, it'll be at its normal time, 11:10 Central Time. It kind of depends on what kind of Christmas Eve plans and what time we're going to go to church and what time we're going to eat and all that other good stuff. So hit that subscribe button and ring that notification bell and come around 11 o'clock, see if I've got the episode posted. I'll post it up as early as I can once I've made the decision if I'm going to go live. But regardless of whether I go live or not for the Purple and Gold pregame show over on Vikings First and SKOL live at the 2-minute warning, I know that show's going down. I know that one's going to happen. So Dave, I'll just be honest with you. I know you're watching. I think my availability for live at the 2-minute warning, I wouldn't count on me. It's about a 5% chance because I think we're going to be heading out right after the game to go over to some festivities there. But I will let you know one way or the other. Shout out, last one of the night goes to Luminous Grin. All I want for Christmas is a Vikings win. Yes, sir. And then secondarily, we can ring in the new year with a win over the Packers. Want to thank everybody for joining me. Hit that like button on your way out if you didn't already in. Share this on Facebook, X, Twitter, whatever it is you want to call it. I call it Twitter still because I don't care what Elon Musk says. It's called Twitter. You can change it to whatever you want officially, but it's still Twitter to us. Share this on Facebook. Share this with your friends. Tell them about Purple and Gold for Days. Tell them about Vikings First and SKOL. And as I said at the beginning of the show, and I'll wrap it up by the same thing. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, and Happy Holidays to whatever you may celebrate. And if you don't celebrate, then just celebrate that you get a vacation day on Monday, or at the very least, double time and a half. But everybody, no matter where you are, where you're going, where you've been, stay safe, drive safe. I know we all like to get our drink on a little bit. Just be safe about it. Don't be like Wes Phillips. Be driving when you shouldn't be. Because want everybody to stay safe, want everybody to come back and celebrate a Vikings victory and get ready for the Vikings to take the Packers out of their misery, put them out of their misery next week. That's what we're doing. But in all seriousness, thank you so kindly very much for joining me. As always, SKOL to the next episode. And as Prince says, go crazy, punch a higher floor, and good night.